Välkomna. Cian är medlem i, precis som vi andra här, i Rostrum. Och när vi kom hit, ett par stycken av oss, innan vi skulle öppna det här, så blev vi förvånade. För vi hade inte väntat oss det här. Vi hade väntat oss foton uppsatta på vägg. Och så blev det något annat. Och då finns det också anledning att faktiskt få vara så där lite nyfiken som man faktiskt, många av oss i alla fall är, när vi går och tittar på grejer, tittar på konst. Vem är bakom? Så jag kommer att göra det här klassiska, att man tar fram pappret och så säger man, aha, ja, jag visste att du var från Dublin. Du kom hit, eller du är baserad i Sverige sedan 2010. Och sen har du hållit på med fotografi, vilket jag då visste innan. Och det var där jag liksom trodde allt hände. Det var inte sant. Utan du höll på också med annat. Då agerar vi skärningspunkter mellan det dokumentära och det iscensatta. Skriver man lite högtidligt, men det är ju precis som det är. Och sen har du utbildning från Glasgow och från Göteborg. Och sen har du varit med, inte bara här omkring utan runt om i Europa. Och nu så, Rostrum. Jag tänker inte säga mer än bara välkommen, vad kul att det här blir av och att det ska bli så roligt att höra. Och sen har jag den här mikrofonen så att om man har en fråga, likadant att det spelas in frågan, så då kommer jag med den efter att du har pratat. Och så kan vi då se till att Cian säger allt det som vi vill att han ska säga. Okej. Bra.
Tack så mycket, Berit. Jag var lite tveksam om det, men jag kommer ge det på engelska. Så jag hoppas det är okej. Also for all the multitude of people tuning in internet land. Thanks very much for coming. And yeah, I think it's a interesting observation that you brought up of a certain expectation when photography is presented that it belongs on the wall and often, behind a frame, and it's something that I've really kind of not worked against, but try to challenge those types of expectations and kind of bring a more physical aspect to the way that I present the works, and I think one thing that's really interesting for me when I think about how photography functions. Obviously, photography is a very broad field and works in different ways, but photography itself talks a lot about time. It's maybe not exactly fixed, but photographs I think tend to be read as something that has been, whereas objects and sculptures and maybe kind of photo objects become a more we experience them more bodily, more immediately, more physically in that kind of that moment. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that in. And yeah, a lot of bricks and blocks and construction material that I've been working with. I mean, funnily enough, coming down here this morning to passing by the Gustav Adolfs Torg, where they've kind of sealed it off, and it resembles to me like a kind of, I thought, they brought a sculpture park right into the middle of the city, and it's these construction spaces I constantly find kind of interesting and appealing. I was kind of half thinking we'd do a performance where we'd go on a little tour down there and kind of have a look, but no, we won't do that. And yeah, the works I'm showing here are a kind of continuation of an interest that I have in urban space, and it's how it's, you know, how it's constructed. And a lot of my my projects begin as an investigation into different aspects of that. And I think there's a lot, you know, for me, I think that the genesis of that is from when I was, you know, younger, spent a lot of time in kind of teenage years or pre-teenage years trying to find derelict spaces and spaces that one could go into and enter and engage with and use materials there. And it's kind of a thing of being able to find a way to like subjectively engage with the urban environment. And you know, that was kind of I grew up in Dublin in the you know, came of age in the late 80s and early 90s when it was pre-Celtic Tiger economic boom, and there wasn't a lot of you know, more likely to find derelict buildings than shiny new buildings. And then that changed a lot, and all of a sudden there was a lot of new construction, and being kind of city transformed. And when I moved to Malmö, I was very aware of the similar things happening, and I would go down to Västerhamnen and see, you know, how these developments were coming along, and that's always something that's fed into the way that I think about working. So I guess I could talk a little bit about the different works. The work on the inside room is maybe a bit more you know, black and white images, the type of works that I've worked with a lot quite recently. And what I tend to do when I make work is to go out to kind of the edge areas of urban spaces, and it's kind of, these are places that I think hold a lot of potential and are often in this sometimes in between state of being transformed into something else, and there's an underlying potential there. And I kind of like to just, you know, I spend a lot of time walking around, kind of drifting purposefully, and just allowing kind of certain underlying patterns and things to emerge. And that set of images is very is a kind of ongoing work that you know, has a lot of geometrical forms, a lot of kind of aspects where I've responded to something, a construction, or a something that I've taken back to the studio and done something with. And then the works in here, in the main room, these very colorful images are made in Bildsplatz here in Malmö. It's like a construction playground that is something that doesn't really exist in most places anymore, but it's an idea that came from, I think, in the 40s, where children in urban areas were provided with these spaces to really construct and go about, and to be able to have that freedom that it was considered they didn't have. You would maybe get in the countryside, but not in the city. And I think there's a lot of I think, you know, there's fantastic structures there, and there's a lot of interesting things about the ideas behind these spaces, and that, you know, from a young age, children can really learn about constructing, but also, you know, working together and creating buildings and spaces that that would, and it's within this that I guess questions of who gets to who are kind of urban spaces constructed for, and who gets to really have a say in how they're put together, and I think that it's one of the things that when I was considering the works for this show a few months ago, here in Malmö there was a lot of conversation about new developments and how, for instance, in Sorgenfri, near where I live, and where there's a lot of artist studio spaces, that they were being forced out, or threatened with being forced out because developments were kind of moving. The area was getting redeveloped, and it's a thing that happens in cities around the world, that the cheaper areas and gentrification, the way it functions, that the more financial valuable entities are the ones that kind of move in and take over. So there's always these conversations about what kind of cities do we want to live in, what do we want to have in them, do we want to be in a place where it's just apartments and cultural spaces are forced out. I think in Sweden seems to be quite good at protecting certain things. I mean, in Dublin, for instance, I kind of constantly receive email petitions on, we have to protect this space or this cultural entity because they want to develop it, and they want to build probably another hotel, because in Ireland it's just everything is constructed for tourists, and amenities. Particular local citizens are not perhaps as valued in that regard. And then I think there's a lot of, I guess, playfulness in the works that I make, and the slideshow work as well is something that I made not too long ago, and I think it really fit in with the other works in this this certain playfulness with materials that are reappropriated from construction spaces, and this, I guess, slightly transgressive idea of going into a space that you're not really technically permitted to be in, and to use the materials there for something that they're not really supposed to be used for, is a kind of way to, I guess, try and reclaim a certain engagement with the city itself. So yeah, I don't know if there's...
För mig är det jättemycket Malmö.
Okay.
Men så vet jag om att du och jag kom till Malmö ungefär samtidigt. Och då kan man ju ha vissa förutfattade meningar. Men det här, på något sätt, det du visar upp, tycker jag, du får säga vad du tror, men det kräver viss form av dekadans, det kräver reclaiming, och naturligtvis en urban miljö, eller hur? Det är så. Ja. Men det här med att det är Malmö, eller någon mer som...
Intressant. Jag vet inte om jag ska bara svara på svenska. Det känns lite som att jag bor här, jag arbetar här, så såklart det är mycket som jag gör som är Malmö. Men jag alltid försökt att... För jag tycker det är svårt att göra ett verk om en specifik plats. Eller jag vill inte att det blir specifikt till någonstans. För jag tycker att det här frågor och tematik är universellt. Så att,
Nej, men det visar väl att Malmö ingår i den här typen av städer.
ja, okej. Ja,
eller hur?
Ja. Det finns en... Malmö är lite speciell. Som det finns en typ frihet. Kanske mer än... men det är som... Malmö är en klassisk typ postindustriell stad som har i ganska kort period ändrats sin identitet mycket. Och det är alltid sådana städer är väldigt intressanta. Att det finns ofta mer något sorts DIY-mentalitet. Att det är som, vi kan skapa det hur vi vill ha det, mer än kanske mer etablerad städer.
Är det något mer eller ska vi säga tack? Något? Då blir det en applåd.
Tackar.